the program I think that I was unconsciously operating under is that I had no worth unless I was either in my masculine energy, right? I was raised to be my father's son, or to be to participate in my own exploitation.
Interesting.
My own female exploitation. So it's very disturbing.
That's a good lyric for a woman. I was raised to be my father's son.
Yeah, I was. I was daddy's little soldier. And so how do I want to describe this? I think it's rare for a 15, 16-year-old to have professional dominatrix friends, to actually to know professional doms and to like go to the dungeons, and hang out, right? That's very uncommon.
Where are the dungeons?
Well, they're a little bit of everywhere. They're just hiding.
Yes, where are they?
So in Germany, I was exposed to a great deal growing up there. Neo-Marxism at its finest.
Yeah.
And then coming to the United States, any major city has this element.
Has the dark underbelly.
Yes. And I had this natural, almost unspoken attraction to it. I have a spiritual teacher who I absolutely adore. And she was the first person to confirm that this was a huge part of my spiritual calling and my mission. And it helps me really, it validated.
I can't comprehend why you're killing me. I don't understand why you're pulling me down. We see the same sun going up. We walk the same ground. Reminds me. Reminds me. Reminds me.
Welcome, dear souls, to the Eighth Element podcast. My name is Buzz Ryan, and I'm here with
Gargs Allard,
the inimitable Gargs, and our wonderful guest, Geraeka Lyonns, correct?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're very honored to have you, Jericho. And you kind of light up the room today with your outfit and everything, and your smile. So, a little background.
Okay, Jericho is the founder of the Mars Rising, formerly the Mars Contract, which is a movement and coaching platform devoted to helping moms raise confident, competent sons in a culture that often unconsciously emasculates them, or consciously.
Or conscious.
Very conscious.
Intentionally.
Very.
Strategically.
Or all those.
After over a decade coaching men in sex, power, and trauma healing, she now focuses on empowering mothers, especially single mothers, to embody feminine leadership and raise the next generation of strong, emotionally integrated men. So, amen. And a woman.
Thank you.
Yeah, wow. What a powerful mission statement there, right there. So you've had quite a remarkable background, and maybe we could just put all the cards on the table, if that's okay.
We can.
Because as we were speaking before we began the show,
I'm playing without a full deck, by the way.
yes, your wife has told me that on numerous occasions
We already
behind your back, but she loves you nonetheless.
We like to make express.
I like to say, though, that I have more cards than the average deck. I'm just missing a few cards.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Selectively taken out. As we were speaking before we began here, there's aspects of your past and some of the work that you did, which some people may find odd. I don't see anything as odd because everything is part of the journey, ultimately. But you were saying how it framed, or it gave you such depth of insight into the current field and spectrum of what you're doing, and humanity, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm going to turn it over to you and give a sense of that background, so we get a context for who you are and the work that you're doing.
Okay.
And this conversation.
I don't really know where to begin. I'll just say that I was given
do this.
ample opportunities in life to experience contrast. If I look at my life from an astrological or spiritual perspective, it gives me a lot of hope, and it's kind of anchored me into my healing process, because when I look at my chart, I'm like, oh, wow, this is somebody who has to navigate the underworld in order to become who I am. And so that, I think, summarizes my background. I was on the streets in my teens. I came from a dysfunctional, highly toxic home environment that looked fairly perfect on the outside. So it was very difficult for me to receive any kind of support, help. It was very isolating. I come from a military family, so there was a lot of upheaval and instability in my early childhood. I moved 16 times by the time I was 16.
Wow.
And we were never all that close with extended family. There were years where I went to 3 different schools in 1 year, 2 different continents, that kind of thing. So I was born and raised in Germany, in the sense that the longest tours that my father had, he did 2 long military tours in Germany. So that was the longest I ever spent anywhere in my childhood. And I did go to German school. So for a while, German was my dominant language. And then we returned to the United States around age 14. And from there, everything just kind of unfolded. But I received a pretty in-depth, unorthodox education while I was a teen. I found myself, through just coping mechanisms, in the squatter punk community of the East Village of New York City.
Do you know John Joseph? Cro-Mags?
Cro-Mags. I don't know him personally.
Okay. You've heard the band?
I have heard the band.
Yeah,
I might have even seen them.
He was on our show last week.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's so fun. All right. So I'll give you some reference, because, there might be some overlap, because I did know Shelter in them. So,
and we're having their guitar player, Porcell, on our show next week.
Oh, how fun. So I was really young at the time, and I looked completely different and had a completely different name. So I don't expect anybody to remember me, but I stayed in the gardens in the summertime, right there on 9th and 7th. And then I stayed at Serenity Squat on 9th and D. And then I was a part of the Dos Blocos eviction, stayed at 7th Street Squat on occasion. And then C Squat was, a place that we hung out and my bands played. And then by the time I was about 18, 19, I had my own squat in West Philadelphia. And that was the precursor and kind of the launch point of my 25-year career in construction, was being a squatter punk. It gave me purpose. It gave me finally.
Can you define squatter punk?
Yeah. So a squatter punk, it's a counterculture. It's a subculture within a subculture of people who live in abandoned buildings, usually illegally, although there is some gray area there. And we can talk about that if you want to get into it. And in New York City, it was a pretty significant subculture, because so we had some huge gentrification shifts in the different neighborhoods, especially in the East Village. Things got very dangerous. We had this whole thing happen in the late 70s in multiple different neighborhoods all over Manhattan and the boroughs, where people were literally not just abandoning their buildings and there was a significant white flight, but building owners, landlords were literally setting their buildings on fire or hiring people to do so just to be able to collect insurance. And so it created certain pockets of the area that were just abandoned. And
what year was this again?
So for me, it was from the mid 90s until early 2000s.
Okay.
But it started way earlier than that. And so I came in right as Tompkins Square Park was being evicted. And so it was like crazy stuff. The SWAT teams were in the streets. They had tanks. It was wild. And this was when I was kind of waking up from my haze. I was struggling in my mid-teens, and I was resorting to things like heroin to try to cope, and this snapped me out of it and got me out of that and gave me purpose. Being a squatter punk, learning how to do things with my hands, turning art into living space, survival, and then food not bombs. Those were the things that really kind of shifted my life during that time. And and so people weren't able to really afford housing in many areas of New York City. It got so expensive. So people were just like moving into abandoned buildings and fixing them up. So we'd pirate the electricity. We'd do all sorts of weird things with plumbing. I think in New York City, we only had like gravity flush or bucket flush. The one space I was staying in, I shared it with another person, and it actually had formerly been a bathroom. And we turned that into an apartment. So it was wild.
I mean, in New York, so you were living on Avenue C and Avenue D, which is, A, B, C, D equals death,
It was,
So I mean, that's a very, very dangerous neighborhood.
It was. But I was also a very different person then. When you don't have anything, including self-worth, including an identity, you don't really have anything to lose. And I had adopted a very tough exterior during that time in my life. And I looked very different than I do now. Very.
Like super punked out?
Oh, yeah. I think I had like a tank girl-esque hairstyle that was multicolored. Shortly after that, I grew my hair out and I had dreadlocks, numerous variations of dreadlocks. So the style back then for the crusty squatter punk was we would find things on the streets and we'd put them in our hair. So it'd be like pieces of metal, coils, nuts, like wires, all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of crazy that we
should do that for the show. I mean, I don't have my share of it. You should do that. Just a suggestion.
I don't like anyone shoulding me.
I know. As soon as I said should, I immediately felt ram word.
If I found a piece of dry pasta, maybe.
Oh, yeah, we could make
Dry
that.
pasta, yeah.
The mold will add to the.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, sorry to interrupt there.
No, so, there are tons of stories from that era. It was not a sober time in my life by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a launch pad. And so by the time I was in my later teens, I wanted to be a part of the squatter punk in Philadelphia. I thought it was going to be similar to New York City, and it was completely different, and thank goodness. When I first moved to Philadelphia in the later 90s, there were over 40,000 abandoned buildings. It was my post-apocalyptical playground. And so that was a fun adventure. I spent all summer trying to pick out the right house to open and to make a home. And then I made a home there for over 4 years.
That's a good name for a song. Post-apocalyptic. What is it?
Post-apocalyptic playground.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Oh, I have so many stories from that era.
Next song, and Suno.
I was actually thinking someday, kind of like a retirement plan, I was going to make a series of books just about all those stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So John, who was on the show last week, he wrote his autobiography, Evolution of a Cro-Magnon Man.
Oh.
And
Of a Cro-Magnon.
Right. Okay, I've seen it. I haven't read it.
And it's many people he's had a lot of interest in making it into a movie, making it into a TV series. It's pretty fascinating. His life story was wild. Grew up in foster homes. Anyway, I don't want to, but please continue on. So Philadelphia, the post-apocalyptic playground, and your place that you found to move in for 4 years. That's amazing. And you didn't pay rent for 4 years.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't pay rent for much longer than that, actually.
Have you been to Berlin?
I love Berlin. Berlin is what I consider my German home. And
Someone told me that, who's been both to Philadelphia and Berlin, that they're similar. Is that true?
Jein, as we'd say in German, which is
Jein.
a combination of ja and nein. One thing that's so wonderful about Berlin is there's just so many rivers. There's even a public pool on a large river boat in Germany that you could go to. Like, it's wild. And there's like 19 skate parks. So good. Berlin is huge. It's fun. It's international, multicultural. It had a huge squatter punk community that came up after the wall fell. That's a whole nother podcast right there. And I had a friend in New York City. Well, we was a friend of a friend because I was really young. And, I looked up to certain people. I idolized them, but one of them was Pete Missing, and he was part of a band called Missing Foundation, and he bounced back and forth between the East Village of New York City and Berlin as a squatter punk and a musician and an artist and an activist.
Were you in a band?
I was in a few. I was in Ex Victus, and we had our last show at C Squat back in, 2000.
Yeah, we were playing in New York. My wife, Indy, and I had a band called Changing Bodies. And then we also, we had a few bands, but we played CBGBs numerous times and all the clubs in New York and toured around. So it was right around, it was in the late 80s.
What an era.
Yeah. That was kind of just at the end of the heyday of CBGBs and the whole punk scene. And we weren't punk per se, but we had there's an edgy aspect to what we do.
Yeah. And I was there for the very tail end of CBGBs. I helped wheat paste signs. Like I was doing some of that illegal late night wheat pasting, and then it was like over. I was like, oh man, I didn't even get to go to shows and whatnot.
So you were in Philly. You learned this the art of construction as kind of a means of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Finding your identity, finding that you could do something and earn money and etc. Yeah. So let's go there.
Okay. So when I first got there, I'll start. I was so naive. Oh my God. I look back and I'm just like, oh, naive little girl, so broken, but so much passion. I wound up in West Philly literally days after one of the main collective community squats was evicted. It was Squirrel Squat. So all of a sudden I show up, I'm like, I'm going to be a part of the squatter community. Yeah, here I am. Let's go. And there were like 12 other squatters that had just become homeless. And so nobody was at all interested in my story, my background, or helping me. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Which, if I look at it, that was kind of a theme in my life. There was something pushing my soul into independence almost always. And I'm a team player, but hasn't really worked out that well for me. So I got in with Not Squat. Now, Not Squat had once upon a time been a squat. It was on Baltimore Ave across from the Mariposa collective. I guess it was like a health food store / collective. And it was now privately owned. And there was a whole group of people that lived there. One of the residents of Not Squat had been a former squatter punk in New York City. I think he stayed at Umbrella, and his name was Dylan. And he was older, and he ran a construction company called Master of None. And there was like a announcement that Not Squat was going to have a work day party. And I'd only been there for maybe like a week or so. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to learn stuff. I'll help. I want to meet people. And the work parties were fun because they fed you. And I was like, oh, that's great. I'll be there. So I volunteered my time. I had a great time with Dylan. We hit it off immediately. I think the first day we were there, he taught me some basic wiring, and we fixed a leak in a hot water, a gas hot water heater. It was a delight for me. One thing I always wanted throughout my life was to learn skills, and nobody would teach me, predominantly because I was a girl and I should just be pretty and get good grades so I can make money, right? Weird. So he connected with me afterwards and it's like, hey, you have this natural affinity for this work. You're a delight to work with. Would you like to be my helper? And so then I started working for him full time as his helper. And just to paint a picture, the majority of the homes in West Philadelphia, especially the ones we were working on, including Not Squat, they were all turn of the century homes. So these are 4,000 square foot, gorgeous Victorians.
Yeah, Philadelphia's got loaded with those beautiful homes. I've spent a lot of time there.
A lot of hand carved wood, just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous homes that were basically left to whatever post white flight, right? These were homes that were all roughly built late Industrial Revolution, more like 1890s, all the way up until about 1920s.
Gilded? Into the gilded?
I believe so. I'm actually I'm not educated enough on that.
It's around that time period. Very lavish, very beautiful.
Really pretty.
A lot
and
of wealth.
A lot of wealth.
Yeah.
This West Philadelphia was one of the first white-collar suburbs that came out of the Industrial Revolution. So this is where the accountants were working. And all of the homes, for the most part, had the same layout. It was a really great starting point for me to learn construction because I got to learn a lot of old things that just you don't see anymore. I know how to pack oakum and melt some lead solder and put together those cast iron pipes, and that just doesn't even exist
Melt what?
anymore. You melt lead. They actually used lead. So you pack oakum, which is a combination of horsehair and beeswax and who knows what else. And you pack it in really tight into the flange, and then you melt lead solder on top of it to seal it. And then, cast iron is actually quite brittle. That was a whole nother thing.
Were you ever in a situation where there was an emergency and somebody yelled into the crowd, "Is there anyone here who can pack oakum?"
Never.
No.
Wow. I would think that would happen regularly.
Right? But, like the walls were all lath. So that was another thing.
These are laugh plaster in our house. Yeah.
So it was such a great education for me because then anywhere I went, anybody who had old construction, I'm like, I'm your girl.
Wow. So then how did you get from that occupation, which you obviously did for many, many years, you said 25 years, to this other kind
That's my wife's dream occupation, by the way. She wants to be a construction worker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Was it really?
Yeah. She always says it.
Yeah, she's got, I could see that with her,
Might be next life, though.
Yeah.
It's not as glamorous as you think.
Yeah.
I don't think it's glamorous myself.
Well, I was a carpenter's assistant for a couple of years. So
I used to hold the hammer for my father.
I used to have all sorts of boo-boos and scars and cuts all over my fingers.
So,
There's a lot of things I don't miss about it.
so from that occupation to the, the kind of more underworld occupation that you were doing. So, yeah, I mean, of course, do it on your, however you see fit, but that transition, how'd you get into that field and, getting to the perspective that you have now about the Mars contract and Mars rising. So let's kind of go through there and then we can tie that into the culture of today and why this work is so important.
Well, it didn't transition from construction to that. That world was something that had always had a gravitational pull to me. Aside from having a complex and highly inappropriate sexualized childhood that did involve, teenage sex work, a little bit of trafficking, all sorts of weird stuff. I was involved with gangs in my mid-teens. A lot of things I don't really want to go in depth about. There was just an element where part of my early programming was, I like to summarize it like this. I had no concept of healthy femininity. My only connection and understanding of feminine energy was sexualized feminine energy, the dark feminine. It was very much exploitative.
Was this a result of, was there this sexual dysfunction and abuse? Was it a ritual abuse, kind of generational ritual abuse that you experienced in your family?
Thank goodness, no.
Okay.
What it was, I think, was just a very it was a distortion from my mother's unhealed wounds. And I don't think it was conscious at all. I don't think it was intentional, really, at all. I don't think she intentionally groomed me for that. I just think it was a reflection of her, whatever you want to call it, unconscious, unhealed shame, combined with her second wave feminist ideology.
Second wave feminist?
Yeah, I'm assuming second wave. So what I understand, and I could very much be wrong, this is not an area of expertise. In fact, I meant to look this up to verify it, and I totally spaced. My understanding is that first wave feminism was all about making sure that women could vote and that we had equality of rights. I actually really support that. That's an area of feminism that I can get behind.
what's that? The women's suffragette movement? Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in equality of rights.
That means in the 30s, right?
Started in the teens, movement in the 20s, if I recall.
Oh, okay.
But again, not an expert.
Was Gloria Steinem in the second wave?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what I understand the second wave feminism to be about is more of a neo-Marxist program of the annihilation of the nuclear family and the centering of the family. And my mother was 100% brainwashed in that direction. She had zero desire to be a mother.
You've probably seen the interview with Anthony Russo. We talked about Anthony Russo talked about his meeting with David Rockefeller, and
Right.
when David Rockefeller says, "Do you know we created feminism?"
It's not Anthony.
Tax more people.
What was his?
I think it's Aaron Russo.
Aaron Russo, correct?
Aaron.
Yes, it is Aaron Russo, correct? Thank you. Yeah,
I was thinking,
yeah,
who the hell's
They
Tony?
wanted control of the children,
yeah.
right? And they wanted more a larger tax base.
Yes, they wanted the woman's vote and a larger tax base, exactly. And they wanted the woman out of the home so they could control the children by their infiltration of the educational system, which they've done a brilliant job.
It was absolutely
Brilliant.
brilliant
Yes,
strategy.
these
It
people are
worked.
very smart.
And it worked without us even realizing.
Exactly, which is the beauty of it and the great demonic danger of it.
What demons generally do is they hijack movements. They play on people's emotions.
Yeah.
And they're able to do that because, first of all, they're very intelligent. And second of all, they are because they're not emotional, they're psychopathic.
Yeah,
They know how to manipulate people.
they do.
And they do it in such a way that you don't even know they're doing it.
Right, because
They're very insidious.
Yeah, and they, as you mentioned, they tune into the sentimental, emotional aspect of a person.
Yes.
So they present it, they market it in such a way that it's for the good of society, it's for the greater
Exactly.
good, when their intention is just the polar opposite.
I call it pathological altruism.
Oh, right. I love that term.
I can't take credit for it.
Oh, yeah, that's a great
My friend
term.
Ryan introduced that term to me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm taking that."
Yeah, fantastic. So
Yeah.
back to your story. So, so you have this, I would imagine, somewhat abusive and this sexualized background.
Highly sexualized. The program I think that I was unconsciously operating under is that I had no worth unless I was either in my masculine energy, right? I was raised to be my father's son, or to be to participate in my own exploitation,
Interesting.
my own female exploitation. So
That's a
it's very
good
disturbing.
lyric for a woman. I was raised to be my father's son.
Yeah, I was. I was daddy's little soldier. And so how do I want to describe this? I think it's rare for a 15, 16-year-old to have professional dominatrix friends, to know professional doms and to like go to the dungeons, and hang out, right? That's very uncommon.
Where are the dungeons?
Well, they're a little bit of everywhere. They're just hiding.
Yes, where are they?
So in Germany, I was exposed to a great deal growing up there. Neo-Marxism at its finest.
Yeah.
And then coming to the United States, any major city has this
Sure.
element.
Has the
And-
dark underbelly.
Yes. And I had this natural, almost unspoken attraction to it. I have a spiritual teacher who I absolutely adore. And she was the first person to confirm that this was a huge part of my spiritual calling and my mission. And it helps me really, it validated.
Can
the
you
experience.
explain there may be some of our viewers that may not be 100% clear on the dominatrix,
Yes.
the dominatrix platform, what that is essentially.
No, all of them know completely all about it.
Mhm. Right. There's no misconceptions whatsoever. So I'm going to back up a little bit.
Because they've all experienced it. Okay, no.
I'm going to back up a little bit, and I'm just going to do a quick overview of sex work.
Okay.
Because dominatrix work was not my first introduction. My first introduction to sex work was, being a naive teen and being pulled into exploitative situations. But really, it was stripping in clubs. And that's a whole nother subculture. But there is a broad spectrum of sex work that some of it doesn't even really look like sex work, but it's still defined as sex work. And because of this, we can either get away with a lot more than we think or cannot, depending upon the situation. And that really played a role in the past 3 years of my life, unfortunately. But what dawned on me fairly early on this journey of my underworld experience, as I describe it, is I was trying to figure out how to be in my feminine without really understanding it all. And I quickly understood at a young age, because here's the thing, if you're on the streets as a teen, one of the first huge obstacles you have to navigate is that you cannot legally work. You cannot legally rent a home. You cannot legally buy a home, right? There's all sorts of weird blocks. And so for most street kids, the two avenues for employment and survival are sex work and drug trafficking, right? So those two trafficking, that's almost always happens.
Not a lot of
channels. Not a lot of options. It's almost like you get funneled into either or, and often both without even realizing it. And it can be a really quick way to make money. And, it gave me my first dose of power, and that's me. I will play footsies. And it was a distortion, right? It's like what demons do is they distort God, right? And so I knew I was on a path towards sacred sexuality, but I was just so far out in left field before I started actually learning what I wanted to learn. So what happened fairly early on is by the time I got to be about 17, 18, I realized okay, this is a pathway to make money, because I got my first vehicle from stripping. I worked specifically to be able to save up enough money to be able to get my vehicle. I was like, okay, then I stopped. I was done.
That was in Berlin.
No. I left Germany at 14.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So that was New York City.
It was Philly.
Okay.
I knew it was Philly the whole time.
Because I still wasn't at legal age when I was in New York.
How did you know that?
Because I've been listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was still underage in New York City.
Okay.
So, where do I want to go with this? So,
Can I ask a question? But
of course.
Okay. So, when you don't have money, you don't have a way to survive, then something like stripping or sex work or drug running or whatever, it's an answer.
It's a solution.
Yeah, it's a solution.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when you don't have any other options, then, I would think that it's an exciting thing to be able to, have money to do what you want to do,
So here's the irony. I started babysitting around age 11. I got my Red Cross certification at 12. I think that's the youngest or the oldest, the youngest I could be. And I spent early teens babysitting. I love children. I absolutely loved babysitting, loved childcare. It had been my go-to throughout my teens. And I used to make bank, mostly because I was the oldest dependent in my father's squadron. And so I had the monopoly on all the babysitting hookups in the squadron, and I was responsible. I would always do the dishes and cook for everybody and vacuum at night. They loved me.
So you were the head of the babysitting mafia?
I was. I had the total babysitting club, booked solid. And so what I learned quickly when I was on my own is, sure, I could get babysitting jobs. I earned people's trust rather quickly, despite the way I looked. There were always the eclectic parent here and there that would be like, oh, you're actually really good with kids. I trust you. Here you go. But the amount of money I would be making babysitting compared to the amount of money I could make if I was at a strip club was, incomparable. And so it was one of those things. It's like, do I want to work for a few hours doing something that is demeaning and kind of soul crushing, but I can come home with like $300 in the late 90s, which was significant.
How much
Or-
would that be now?
I don't know.
600?
At least.
Probably.
At least, so
So easy money.
Easy money.
Easy money.
Easy money.
Easy money. You'll set aside your kind of sense of integrity for the sake of having the cash in hand, so you could do what you wanted to do. I mean, it makes sense for someone that's, just kind of looking at their options and wanting to do something, and also the background that you.
And then my whole world changed when I was introduced to the Royal Castle in Center City, Philadelphia. This was an elite dungeon that was located on Walnut Street. Was it?
Oh, I know Walnut.
No, it was Chestnut.
Walnut, Chestnut. I know that part of town.
We only go to the most elite dungeons ourselves.
Yeah. That's where I first met you, Dargs.
So now I think it was Chestnut.
You looked really weird in that one.
And unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore. But it was gorgeous. It was wonderful. I was formally trained there. It was.
How old were you at that time?
20.
Is that relatively close to where the Liberty Bell is?
No.
No, Chestnut. Where's Chestnut?
So this
Chestnut,
was
like off it.
Near
that
the
the way
the Italian
the
section?
west. So it runs east to west.
Oh,
So it traverses the entire section of Philadelphia from the river all the way to Upper Darby in West Philly.
okay.
But I would say it was Rittenhouse Square neighborhood.
Oh, that's a beautiful neighborhood.
Really.
Beautiful.
It was just right around the
There's
corner for Nut
great-
Free.
oh, yeah.
Which it was an amazing nut store. I loved walking past there because the aroma and the
Yeah,
edge.
and they have a beautiful park there. There's phenomenal organic vegan restaurant there. It's a beautiful area.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's go to Philly.
The more
They've got Sabrina's.
Phenomenal.
This is my favorite.
They have.
I like to go to the one on Callow Hill.
Which one? Which one's that?
It's their second location. Like I think their first location is
In the Italian section?
Yeah, well,
Is that Sabrina's
in
Italian restaurant?
No, it's a brunch place.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
great.
they
All
have
day.
The best.
Okay, so brunch
Yeah.
Okay.
to the dungeon.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Royal Castle hasn't existed in almost 20 years, so I can't take you there. But there's other places
I'm sure
that are owned and operated and created by my friend. I actually got to help her open it, so that was really cool.
All right. So listen, we have with us a special guest. The mystery woman has made an appearance.
I have made an appearance for all of you. I love you all.
And she's here because, she wants everybody to subscribe. Right, Gargs? Is that what she wants?
Yeah. She didn't want to be on camera for a while, but now she's absolutely motivated because of the subscription situation.
Yeah, we have a situation.
So could you tell us about the subscription situation, Rukmini, please?
Sure. All you need to do is take your pointy finger and you just need to click on subscribe. Or on the keyboard.
Can people handle that instruction? I mean,
I think they can figure it out.
What do you think, Gargs?
Well, my granddaughter told her younger brother, my grandson, the way to end the call was to press on the red button.
Oh.
She said, you can press on the red button. So if he can do it, you can press on the subscribe button. And we're not just talking about YouTube, are we, Buzz and Rukmini?
It's so easy to forget. Yeah, it would help us out immensely if you guys could support us by subscribing, and you'll be the first to be notified when we pass away. When the new video comes out. So please subscribe to our channel. We'd be massively grateful.
We're talking about all social media here.
Instagram, Facebook,
We've got X,
TikTok,
Rumble.
X marks the spot, Rumble.
And, of course, MySpace.
Please subscribe, and there you go.
Okay, where were we? So that was...
So you got trained up at the
I did.
the Royal
I was still a baby dom. I was way too young for this
Baby
work.
Dom. That's a cool.
Becoming a dominatrix, it requires high levels of personal responsibility, integrity, and psychological understanding to be able to be a successful, effective, safe dom.
It's like being a ninja or something.
It's like being a what?
A ninja?
There's some elements to it.
So explain again. Explain. I mean, I know what a dominatrix is because I had my whole background as a dominatrix before the sex change.
Awesome.
But no,
Well,
seriously,
you could have been a male dom.
I could
Yeah.
have been. Yeah. Isn't that how we first met, India? No. No.
That-
Please explain for the more.
They have dungeons in Milwaukee.
I'm sure they do.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, there you go. Milwaukee's kind of a down and dirty town. Yeah. For those who are a little bit more, haven't seen that side of life.
There's actually a fascinating history of the dominatrix, and there is a book called Dominatrix. I can't remember who wrote it. Oh my goodness, I should have been prepared. I can provide that information later if you want. It goes all the way back to ancient, Mesopotamia. It was priestess work, and then it evolved over the many years. In the 18th century, there were actual well-known dominatrixes in major cities in Europe, also in the colonies, that specialized in behavior modification, discipline, and punishment. And so the origin of the dominatrix was to create a container, an environment where men, predominantly men, not sold men, but, usually it's men that look for this type of therapeutic experience, who came for ritualistic punishment. There was usually a type of...
Isn't that what you get married for?
Oh my goodness.
That's okay. Bad joke. I've been married for a long time, very successfully, to my amazing wife here.
How many years?
Oh, we're not going to go there.
We don't go there.
Yeah, long time. We don't want to divulge our chronological markers. No, we've been married forever, and we're
A long time.
deeply in love with each other.
Well, that's something to
Yeah.
celebrate. Don't
It
you
is.
think?
Oh, it's I feel like amazingly grateful.
It's a success.
Yeah, it is.
Seriously.
It is.
So the dominatrix evolved into, we'll call it a service that allowed
A client.
the client, thank you, to be able to indulge in a form of play or punishment that was outside of societal norms. So this could be anything from fetishes, paraphilias.
Paraphilia means
Paraphilias are, it's considered, it's an actual diagnosis of cravings, often sexual cravings, but they don't have to be, that are considered either destructive, dangerous, self-deprecating, or taboo. So they could come to this professional setting, they could explore these cravings in a private environment, and then go back to their lives without anyone knowing about it. Now, my personal belief is that it is absolutely necessary to have this service, because if we look at the history of serial killers, especially in this country, we have these profiles, and this leads into the other work I do, of very specific mother wounds at an early age, combined with autogynephilia. Autogynephilia is the sexual arousal by men being treated or dressed as or objectified as women.
I thought that was homophobic. Gynophilia.
Oh. Womp womp.
okay.
Wah, wah, wah. So if we look at these typical profiles, like the BTK serial killer and a handful of other.
Oh yeah, BTK. What that was in Kansas, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Or some.
He was a church. He was like an avid
exactly.
like the president of his church.
There's markers that we can see across the board. One is a significant mother wound. The other one is cross-dressing / autogynephilia, and then there's also this predisposition towards bondage, punishment, torture, etc.
I'm if you could, autogynephilia. So it's men who have a predisposition to being like mistreated by women,
Not necessarily mistreated. No. Let me clarify.
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
I did not explain that well. Autogynephilia is the sexual craving by men to be seen as, dressed up as, treated as a sexually objectified woman.
So the men would be dressed up as a woman.
Correct.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
and it is a sexual craving.
Uh-huh.
And so I had the,
Wow. What's the psychology of that?
oh boy.
That's from the mother womb.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's actually more common than you'd think. Autogynephilia, we have statistics where it's up to 23% of men have had this experience before. It's actually quite common. I know so many men through the dominatrix work who present as very alpha in their everyday lives, successful, dominant, able to pull really gorgeous women, etc. And then in their private life, they have this kink where, they desire to experience this. It's an arousal factor. So it's not gender dysphoria. And this is important if we move into the realm of talking about big pharma's involvement in gender dysphoria, because what they did is they pushed an entire narrative and an entire movement of trying to create autogynephilia as which is a fetish. It's a kink, right? It's a sexual fetish, into a personality disorder, and to normalize it.
Right.
And to publicize it, right? Because if we think about it, gender dysphoria, it's real. It should be taken seriously, but it affects roughly 0.02% of men. And we're just going to specifically talk about men because that's where I feel like I have the strongest clarity on statistics.
Where again?
For women, female to male, very different psychological background than male to female. So I don't really.
So the men want to be, they want to be dressed as a woman,
Yes.
and you could say dominated over and punished.
Dominated, objectified.
Is this because of
They
their
don't just
relationship?
want to be a woman. Let's be real. They want to be treated as a slut.
Is this so? This has to do with the mother wound.
And they're willing to pay money for it.
That's
Not
not a
all-
Bill Clinton thing.
So not always. It doesn't always have to. What it happens. Okay, so when it comes to human arousal, especially male human arousal, there's so much at play. We have these dopamine receptors that oftentimes don't make sense because we actually release more dopamine with experiences that involve humiliation, rejection, punishment, not getting what we want than we do from actually receiving a reward or accomplishing a task or something that would build confidence. And so what happens usually in adolescence is there will be a trigger where oftentimes the boy, the teen, will have a situation where they experienced arousal combined with a deep humiliation or rejection. And this is kind of where that fetish originates. But what these men who have autogynephilia discover is that their arousal, especially in conjunction with it being taboo and therefore a bit scary. So we have more dopamine, we have adrenaline, we have cortisol, we have all these other things going on. It no longer compares. Like normal sex, normal arousal gets boring. It no longer compares to this next thing that they experience.
Because they're essentially trying to work beyond the pain of that humiliation, rejection in some way that they...
In some way, but I think it's more subconscious than that.
Right.
And they're
Yeah,
really
obviously
it's a
it's
chemical
subconscious,
cocktail.
yeah.
But it's also like it's a rush, right?
It's a rush.
It's almost like,
But they're driven to this. It's not kind of in the normal societal realm.
No.
right. But I would compare it to being like, a sports fan. You start gambling and then watching a game without gambling is kind of watching paint peel.
Exactly.
Right.
Something like that.
Because it's more dangerous.
And the
That-
gambling component, I'm glad you brought that up. That is a part of this kink subculture. It's a part of a dominatrix. Like a dominatrix, if you've heard of FinDom or financial domination, it became huge in the past couple decades because
And what is-
you didn't have to even know someone. You could just do it online. It's where these men, same thing as gambling, they'd get such a rush. They would find a dominatrix or just a dominant woman that would basically drain their wallet, drain their bank account, take them to the edge of their survival instincts would surge, like all of their chemicals would just surge inside their body, and it would be such a rush. And, it would destroy families. I had a very clear boundary as a dominatrix that the only time I ever participated in any form of financial domination was actually to benefit the person. I had very clear boundaries with them.
Please be dominated responsibly.
You'd hope, but unfortunately, not everybody is ethical.
That's not a want.
And not everybody is true.
That's part of the marriage contract.
Yeah.
I could ask a question.
Of course, my dear.
All right.
You just asked a question.
Okay, I did.
Second question, please.
Today. All right. Now,
He's in his Garg's zone.
at the present moment, we have an abundance of furries.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And I'd like to kind of understand that a little bit more. And it's encouraged when the kids are really itsy bitsy teeny little kids. And you can be this, you can be that, bring your kitty litter, I know hardly anything about it, but it's a fetish, it's kinky. Is there a sexual gratification with it? Or what is it?
It doesn't have to be. I want to be clear on that. So, as we know, little children have a natural inclination to want to be animals. I think almost everybody goes through that.
Well, they're attracted to animals for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's.
I'm mainly talking about the adults, though.
Okay, so let's talk about pet play. That's what it's called. It's an identity thing. Like, let's think about it. Being a human kind of sucks, right? We have all these expectations. There's so much pressure. Most of the time, people feel like they're in performance mode, and they can never live up to the ideals that either their culture, their society, their families, or their own internal expectations created for them.
And it's so interesting, if I could just interject, and especially that gets amplified in a spiritual community where there's a whole nother set of high bars. Like, for instance, we come from the Hare Krishna background, which is a 5,000-year-old Vaishnav culture from India. I'm sure you're familiar. And Ganesh is your spiritual name. So, no meat, fish, or eggs, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, and such a chanting certain amount of mantras on beads. And most people can do it for a short time, and at a certain point in time, they may waver from that. And then the guilt, shame, comes in, and that's like a whole nother level of neurosis.
It's so insidious.
Yes,
It's really it's a pandemic.
Yeah,
because that shame, it's pervasive.
Right.
It then infects every single thing that person does, every relationship. I mean, yeah.
I interrupted you on India's question on the furries. But
so it gives them an opportunity to step outside of that world and feel a new sense of belonging and identity. Because one of our basic human needs as humans is a sense of belonging. We have this natural conformity gene, and it's linked biologically to our survival instincts. So it can trigger certain people to a huge extent, especially if they feel isolated, if they feel ostracized, if they're the weirdo, the freak. All of a sudden, they can join something that makes them feel so seen. They get to be something completely different. I have limited experience with pet play because I only engaged in certain aspects of it. And I think what you're talking about with the furries, that's not people coming to a professional for an experience. That's a lifestyle thing. And I'm not a lifestyle dom. I can speak on it because I've interacted with it most of my life, but I just want to be clear, like, this was always a job for me.
Mm-hmm. So your realizations about the state of humanity, the consciousness of humanity, the intentions of the so-called controllers of the world, and the realizations from your work in regards to that, which has brought you to where you are now.
Correct.
If we could maybe go in that direction now.
Yes. I want to wrap up one thing that we started talking about. I think it's really important just to kind of follow through.
I apologize.
It's okay. It's exciting. I know. I trail off all the time.
No, it's been perfect. I'm wanting to, because there's so much to unpack with all this, and from your experience, you have a bird's eye view of, like I said, the darker shadow of humanity, and what that means in terms of how to navigate that, how to heal from that, and what the forces are against us.
Yes.
Against men in particular.
Yeah.
Women too. But your field is...
Well, they're in conjunction.
They're in conjunction.
A misogyny and emasculation are bedfellows. They do not exist.
Two sides of the same coin.
They exist together. So I want to address what I was saying about why I think it's so important that these services that a dominatrix provides should be legal, and they should be available, and they should be taken seriously.
Right. They're talking about the serial killer mentality.
I'm a firm believer that without these services, what happens is these type of cravings, they take over. It's like Jungian shadow work. What we reject in ourselves basically becomes our saboteur, and it can also basically take over like a demonic possession. And so I've worked with a few people where I saw very clearly that they needed this service.
That was my next question.
It's a release for them, so it doesn't build up inside.
It doesn't build up. It doesn't become something that takes over. It can actually be therapeutic. And I've seen people work through it. Dozens of clients we'd get down to the real wound. We'd work through it, and they no longer had these cravings. And then there's a whole nother component that has to do with parasitic infection, which causes a lot of these paraphilic cravings, where if I got my clients healthy, because I always combined coaching with dominatrix work for anybody who was serious and wanted to serve me. I was like, okay, you got to serve me with your best. Show me how well you want to serve me. And so they would I'd have them get their entire life in order. They'd get in the best shape of their lives, etc. And once I started seeing what happens once my clients went through parasite cleanses, they stopped craving certain things.
Fascinating.
And we have the research behind this. We have tons of research behind this, especially with specific strains of parasites.
So it's almost like a parasite is like a physical demonic possession.
It is, actually. And I'm under the belief, yes, I'm under the belief system that a lot of these parasites, they didn't originate on this planet.
Uh-huh.
I 100% believe that. I think that they were actual interdimensional demonic travelers that came here to be able to control humans and animals, etc. But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about on this podcast for statements that our spiritual teacher has made. I know you.
All those people who diss you on Facebook don't know how much you know.
Yeah. But,
No, they want me. Oh, yeah. No, I'm so projected upon it. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
Tell me more of who
Are
I am.
you the bad girl?
I think I'm so much to so many people.
Yeah.
And I think I really piss off people when they realize that I have a brain.
So I want to definitely.
Confusing.
It's so.
We definitely want to.
It doesn't add up in their very little paradigm of reality.
How dare I see through their illusion and their masks?
Right. So you're obviously triggering things for these people.
Yes. And I at this point, I call myself a cosmic mirror, because that's what I do with my men's work is I hold up the mirror to show them what they've either never been able to see before or what they refuse to see. And I do that in the safest, most loving professional container possible. And that definitely came from the dominatrix work.
It must make them feel very vulnerable to do that.
It is deep, vulnerable work. Any form of submission requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires trust. So it should be sacred. And so in my perfect world, we would have standards of care, training, all sorts of different, I guess standards is the word I could go back to for professional dominatrixes, because they really are therapists. And all the really great ones I know, they have a background in psychology. They take their work very seriously. They are incredible women. They're priestesses, all of them.
When you get in a relationship, do you have a tendency to psychoanalyze your partner?
Oh, it doesn't even take a relationship.
No, but they're with you all the time. So, like,
I don't call it psychoanalyzation. To me, it's deep spiritual work. I see what other people don't see, and I always have. I had to clear a lot of fogginess and a lot of brokenness in myself to be able to hold space and hold that with integrity. I would say that my journey in life has been a very isolating one, to say the least.
I want to comment on one thing you said about the therapeutic value of this type of work and it being legalized. So certain men with those deep emotional traumas and kinks, as you said, can be healed from that. So they can work through that with someone in a professional environment. So it doesn't overtake them and lead them to do darker and darker things.
Yes, so it doesn't bleed out into society so that we do not ever have any of this non-consensual kink and fetishizing of whatever, like these pride parades. They used to be super fun, and now they're just like...
They're off the charts.
And as a dom, for many, many years, oh boy, did I become popular. I spoke out against it vocally. As a dom, I was like, anything that is non-consensual goes against everything we stand for. And anybody with a real clear background, ethics and integrity, who really valued their career in this realm and in this subculture, whatever you want to, in this industry, they agreed with me. They were like, yes. And what do we do about this? And all the younger ones, all the lifestylists, all those that wanted zero responsibility, zero accountability, they tried canceling me. And they tried, all sorts of things.
So as a dom, if you were uplifting people, could you call yourself a holy dom?
A sacred.
What's really fun about this industry is you can call yourself whatever you want. In fact, when my clients were lucky, they could call me daddy.
Oh, who's your daddy?
Big daddy.
In the Vedic times, we see this throughout all civilizations. There was the prostitute class. And even when Krishna was on the planet 5,000 years ago, when he entered Dwarka, where he was the king of Dwarka, the prince of Dwarka.
When he came back from Vrindavan.
And there was massive crowds, and it's described in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that so many different classes of people were there to greet him and shower him with flowers and beautiful gifts, and because he was beloved by everyone, because he is always all attractive. And when he appeared on the earth 5,000 years ago, he displayed those beautiful pastimes. But it's described how on the balconies there were many well-known prostitutes that were also there. Courtesans, yes. And Prabhupada describes them, both words I think he uses. So, it was it was an occupation that was accepted in society.
Not just accepted, it was considered to be necessary.
Yes.
And it was.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I would like to get back to, where I don't want just legalized, standardized professional dominatrixes. I want high-level, respected as authority figures, as healers.
As healers, yes.
Because
that's different, because the connotation is not such.
Exactly.
And right, but if a man wants to go see a prostitute, they don't necessarily want to see a therapist.
Mm-hmm. I beg to differ.
Well, they may want to within. It
always happens.
They may yearn for that, but at the same time.
Because a man goes to see a prostitute primarily for emotional support. Because any form of sex work, and I want to say this loud and clear because a lot of people who've never been a part of the industry, they don't understand this. All forms of sex work provide emotional labor, which is why the burnout rate is very high. It is the primary function of a sex worker. And a lot of people don't see this because they think that sex is fundamentally carnal. But what a lot of people fail to realize is our sexual energy is our spiritual energy. And it's that distortion. It's that inversion that happened that created this, whatever we want to call this, nightmare on this planet. I am so grateful for my background. Like, I have zero shame around it. I'm also not promiscuous. Like a lot of people, they love to project on me of all these things, and none of it's true. For me, I loved my work because I was legitimately, this was the best way I could be of most service to God, because I got to undoubtedly save dozens of lives through my work.
And
I got to save marriages. I got to save families.
do you know Krishna Rose?
Oh, yes, I love
So
her.
she was on she was the 5th episode on our show, and she spoke a lot about Mary Magdalene.
Yes, that was my name.
Oh, there you go.
Magdalena Domina.
Yeah. So we had a great episode with her, just like we're having with you. So, it was, and that was her occupation.
This was the lineage of, right. And Magdalena, of course, we know was anything but a prostitute. She was a priestess.
Yes.
Just
And they had a
Mother
son.
Mary.
They had a Jesus Jr., apparently.
They too, actually.
2 sons, yeah.
So I would like to take all that experience that you had and the realizations you had from that experience as a spiritual being evolving through this incarnation as a result of your previous karma. You had to go through these challenges, but you gained so much from that.
Yeah.
And now look at what brought you to the work that you're doing. But let's talk about the realizations about our current culture and society.
But just
Go ahead.
one quick question. When did you have the epiphany, or when did you work out in your mind that you wanted to do this type of work, what you're doing now? Was it a gradual process, or did you have like a light bulb moment? Or?
Oh, yes. I'll tell you about this. So being a woman in construction for about 25 years put me in an environment where I was surrounded by men, working with men all day long, usually the only woman, not always, but I would say at least 95% of the time, I was the only woman on the job site. And for me, I've always had very strong masculine energy. When I was little, I thought I was supposed to be a boy. It was way safer for me to be in my boy mode, as I called it. And so when I was on the job, I was one of the boys. Except I'm not male. I'm female. I have a female perspective. I have a female nervous system. And so, I have female inclinations. So what would happen is, as I'm having, typical bonding situations with my coworkers, and they learn to trust me, they learned very quickly that, oh, this one likes to play in the deep end. They would start talking to me about all the things that men talk about on the job site, which are sex, relationships, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, they specifically beelined into the topics where they felt stuck. So at first I started out as kind of like a liaison of translating, the female mind and behavior into a way that men could process so that they could understand the women in their lives better. And then they realized that they could start talking to me and asking me things about sex because I had this random background and I was open. Like I didn't.
They knew about your background?
No, not fully, but
Okay.
But so there's a lot of crossover in my life. So while I was a squatter punk, not only was I working construction, I was also stripping in clubs because I needed money and I wanted a truck. I wanted tools. I wanted things. And so, it was a lot of back and forth. And I wasn't like, I would do the sex work, meaning, there's only certain types of sex work I've ever done. I danced, I did phone stuff, and then I did dominatrix work. And I do it in bursts. It was always for a financial goal. It was never like this.
That was during the 900 time period, 1/900 time period.
Yes, late 90s.
Okay.
And
the 1-900 being the phone number, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Up until like 2000. And after 2000, 2001, I never could go back to stripping. Dominatrix was the way because it was the only way where I was always in the position of power. I never had to compromise. And that was really important to me because I realized I cannot spiritually submit. It just doesn't work for me. Like that was sacred. I could never do something with my clients that I would do with my partner or my lover. It just couldn't. It was kind of an evolution that just worked it evolved on its own organically. And then in 2017, I had 2 to 3 close guy friends who came to me for counsel. They wanted to talk to me about all sorts of things, right? And they just came over and we'd hang out and we'd talk. I'd translate their women for them. I'd give them advice, etc. And these 3 guys, back to back, within a week and a half, all said the same thing to me. They said, "You should be getting paid for this." And I thought to myself, you are absolutely right. I should be getting paid for this. And so in February of 2017, I started a new LLC and created the first variation of the Mars contract called Higher Ground Connections, where I was working as a coach, an intimacy and relationship coach for men. And it was from there that I quickly realized a lot of the questions I was getting was very much sex-based and kink-based. All like back to back. So many guys came to me and they're like, "Hey, my girl wants to be tied up. She wants to be dominated. What do I do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got you." And then from there, I realized, holy crap, I'm trained as a dom. There are no dominatrixes in this area. I think I'm going to go back to it. And this was after my divorce. My divorce was brutal. It took years.
Oh, when did you marry?
Oh, during my K2 period.
Okay, when was that?
I got married in 2011.
Are you in your Venus period now?
I am. I'm in a sub period. It's just about to be good because I'm coming out of my Saraswati. It's been fun. It's been fun. In fact, if everything is correct with my chart, next year I enter the first really, truly auspicious time in my life.
Okay.
The fruit of all your tribulations and challenges.
What do you mind me asking what your rising sign is?
Pisces.
Pisces.
Of course.
Yeah, India's got like what? How many signs in Pisces? Like 5?
I just did my chart with Grok, and my Aries is somewhere else. You have to look at
No.
You're in Aries.
You can't go by Grok.
And
You have to double check.
You have to put every single thing. You have to have every planetary position to every degree.
Yeah.
And then put in all the birth information.
Okay.
And then you can have a conversation with the fake person.
You have to program it, and you have to double check every step of the way because
Triple check.
Maybe I'll ask you to do that one day.
It was just from an author, I forgot his first name, Galloway. Galloway has said plenty of statistics to back up his claim that young men really are in trouble.
Yes.
Drawing on research by writers such as Richard Reeves, author of 2022's Of Boys and Men, and his NYU colleague Jonathan Haidt, whose recent book, The Anxious Generation, sounded the alarm on social media. He sketches out a landscape of rising rates of everything from boys' school suspensions to male unemployment, addictions, loneliness, and failure to complete college. We're going to graduate probably 2 women for every 1 man from college in the next 5 years because men drop out at a greater rate. So it seems to me that there is if you zoom out, there's a well-orchestrated, intentional, and we touched on this earlier, plan to, you could say, emasculate men.
Yes.
And strip them of their sense of their protective sense. You know, it's like the word in Sanskrit, kshatriya, to protect. Well, actually means to hurt, but really it's meant for protection.
Right.
You know, it's
Governance.
Governance, protection, leadership, guidance, shelter. And it seems like there's this attack on like toxic masculinity, as if masculinity is toxic. Of course, anything.
It's the absence of masculinity that's toxic.
So I wonder if you could comment at what you see how you see this in society. Obviously, you're seeing it in your own work, in the men that you see up close and personal, in the work that you do, and your new work of raising boys, the Mars Rising, raising boys, helping mothers, especially single mothers, raising boys into men. I know that on your website, you talked about the value of like absolute integrity.
Absolute integrity.
Absolute integrity. There's a few other things.
So the website you're looking at was created in 2020 and has not been updated since then. It's very bare bones. I have whole new stuff about to launch. I'm so excited.
But there was some I thought very poignant. Like here you said that. Discovered you are beyond your conditioning. I mean, that's the whole basis of a spiritual life, and then connecting with your highest power, which is your connection with the Supreme Being, with God.
That's why you were able to go into the underground.
Yeah.
and then come out
Because
in.
I'm always connected to source.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Transform your nice guy into a man of value.
Yes.
I mean, this is also the teaching of great spirit.
Quote unquote nice guy, I noticed there.
Let's see.
We want to be weary of those
Yeah.
nice guys because that behavior is manipulative.
Yes, right. Passive aggressive in a sense, and receive keys to empowered communication. So, and so many men lack these skills because of the. So let's talk about what you see as the assault on masculinity, and why you think that is.
It's weird because looking back now at my life, I can see how God aligned me in certain very bizarre situations to be able to see things in a very clear way. And what I mean by that is growing up as an American kid in the German school system, one of the things I learned in retrospect is not only could I really see the neo-Marxist programming deeply and how it really took over my worldview and how I identified in the world, but I also saw very clearly how German kids, even before my generation, but definitely in my generation, especially the boys, were taught to hate themselves and to be deeply, deeply ashamed of their history and their culture.
Self-loathing.
The worst thing growing up in Germany that you could be a part of was nationalism. Patriotism, like, God forbid. Like, that was up there with racism, right? And so what I see was a very strategic emasculation, castration of masculine power. Because if we look at the depth and the absolute beauty of masculinity, what we have is an individual who is self-sovereign. And when you have a sovereign individual, they will do whatever they need to do to protect those that they love. They will do whatever they need to do to build upon their value system, their ethics, their faith, and what they know is true in their hearts. Like, this is the unwavering Kshatriya energy. Well, they will happily take a bullet for what they believe in. And if we systemically destabilize that, if we remove that, compromise that, stigmatize that, then all of a sudden we have an entire culture of sheep that are easy to control.
Exactly.
Right? And then in conjunction with biological and environmental issues, now we have something that is just going to automatically escalate without us having to do much else.
What demographic are the main obstacles to overtaking a country and a culture?
Well, we look at the cultures that have the strongest elements of, what is valued, and if we look at the cultures that value truth, that value courage, that value
Faith,
that value self-sacrifice. I mean, that's one of the weapons they use against them. That's why they've been so successful in Western cultures, because we come from a Christian background predominantly. They use our altruism and our virtues against us strategically.
And who are the they in your?
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna
Please
expose myself.
Yeah, because we Gargs and I and India. And
We also don't want to get sued, but go right ahead.
Okay. So if we're talking about modern history, let's not talk about modern history. Let's bring it back on home. I've been recently, I have taken upon myself to read the entire Bible again from start to finish. And because it's been a while. And I'm a scripture hound and a natural researcher. That eighth house Scorpio stuff going on.
That's kind of also a good name for a scripture hound. Also what was it? Natural researcher.
And specifically Old Testament, because we have this placement. Like, I had an agenda, and I was talking to my dad about it, and he was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." I'm like, "I know." So, as we know, Genesis is missing a lot, right? And so my next big fun research project is going to be the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'll have to save up some, we'll get all the volumes. But what we have just with Judeo-Christian background is we have the early chapters of Genesis, which were predominantly taken from the Enuma Elish, which is the ancient Sumerian epic of creation, which was on the cuneiform tablets that were rediscovered in the 1970s, just like a month before I was born.
What are the tablets called?
It's called the Enuma Elish, which is the ancient Sumerian epic of creation. So it basically ends where Genesis starts out. So it goes through the entire celestial battle, right? It's pretty fun stuff. And then we have Genesis, and we have very clear guidelines from the experimental Garden of Eden, which we know where that was placed. It was in the pathway of 4 different rivers, 2 of which were the Tigris and the Euphrates River, which is in modern-day Iraq. And the guidelines were Yahweh, and this is very important because a lot of people don't understand that these ancient, it wasn't just God. There were specific names, right? They were a council. The first guidelines, when they created this version of humans in the Garden of Eden, is they were given all seed-bearing plants on earth for their food. Their average lifespan was between 900 and 1,000 years. And we have this very clearly up until Noah. And with Noah, we have a major shift that happened.
Where the introduction of eating meat came into the Bible. Or there was a concession.
Right.
Also,
but that was only after the Great Depression.
Right. In the Vedas, talk about the yugas. In Dwapara Yuga, you could live to 1,000 years old.
There we go.
Right. And so it was Sully.
So there was a shift of use.
So there was, it was right at that shift.
So that's deep.
And most people don't understand that, when they hear about these long lifetimes, but that's clearly delineated in the Vedics.
Noah was our last human, and with the annihilation of the Nephilim, which were the sons of gods who came and copulated with the daughters of man, who they found beautiful. He was the last.
So you're talking about demigods, procreated with beautiful human,
right?
That's also
human women. Okay,
that's also in the Bhagavatam. It's just described and explained. So
I can't wait to dive into it. And so, long story short, Noah was our last human that lived to be 900 something years old, at 950 years old, and then after that, it only took 10 generations before, and then we have the lineage of Abraham, where 80 to 100 was old. And then the oldest they lived, which I believe was Abraham, and then Isaac was about 180 years old. And then after that, lifespans.
What was the verse from Genesis? Let every herb yielding seed and the fruit thereof, let that be the meat.
Seed-bearing fruit.
Seed-bearing fruit. Let that be the meat for man, not flesh and the blood thereof.
Exactly.
What verse is that in Genesis?
It's very early on. I want to say it's probably Genesis 1:12 or something.
So that's God's original teaching.
teaching.
And in the Bhagavatam, when it talks about the age of Kali, it says that men have but short lives.
Yes.
That they're, what is it?
Always disturbed.
Above all, always disturbed.
Right.
They're unlucky. All the good qualities of the human being gradually
diminish.
Devolves.
Yeah.
Right.
But I digress. So one of the things I'm researching is identifying, okay, who is this Yahweh and who is this El Shaddai, right? And who are these really? And I don't want to go too off in the deep end, but from my research, somewhere around 20,000 years ago, some interdimensional parasite came and infected this planet in an attempt to create a slave race. And I could go off the deep end with this topic, but I believe that this was the progression that basically has worked through the ranks, through the eras, became the Bolsheviks, became the Bolshevik Revolution. And from there, we have the Marxism that infiltrated our entire Western culture.
Infiltration of cultural Marxism,
yes,
which has permeated the educational system.
Critical theory.
Right.
Yep, comes straight from the Frankfurt School.
Right.
And I've been another thing, I look at my life and I'm like, wow, that's really weird. I have the ability, since German was, one of my strongest languages growing up, I have the ability to go in and read all of the original stuff.
And the Frankfurt School was, which is so important in this cultural Marxism, they were the kind of foundational think tank. And what years was the Frankfurt School? Just refresh my memory.
I want to say during the Weimar Republic. So we're talking 30s. we're talking post-World War I, when Germany was just an absolute mess. A lot of people don't realize what happened during the Weimar Republic. It was demonic.
They had to rebuild completely.
They had to rebuild completely, and pedophilia was legal during that time. It's disturbing when I learn about German history, because it wasn't the German history I learned in school.
So that kind of set the stage for the popularity of Hitler.
Oh, absolutely. He, I don't want to get into this too much, because I'm often accused of being a Nazi sympathizer. But I can, without hesitation, say that Hitler was, until they pushed him into war, Hitler was one of the best things that could have happened to Germany.
I mean, he rebuilt Germany.
Oh, and he rebuilt their identity. He gave them a reason to be proud to be German. I mean, we could actually learn a lot from some of his policies. He actually gave us the first animal rights laws and animal protection laws. I could go on and on, but again, it's one of those things where people love to call me out like a white supremacist.
There's positive and negative in every one, and he ultimately took the negative way off the deep end.
Well, a lot of people don't realize this, but he wrote over 24 peace treaties, peace letters, begging for peace, and to avoid the war. And
well, it's just like now.
He couldn't avoid it.
It's just like now. We see that there's great factions. Trump and his cabinet are going to so many type of negotiation meetings, striving for peace. But NATO,
and look what they're up against.
NATO, time and time again, is telling Zelensky you can't, because Europe is crumbling.
Yes.
Their economy is crumbling, and historically, when the society is crumbling, what brings it back is war. Blame the problems elsewhere. Their doctrine,
everybody needs an enemy,
right? And their doctrine is,
and Trump is the modern day Hitler.
Yeah. Well,
isn't that ironic? So there's so much you could say about that, but I don't know like how much we want to stigmatize this.
Yeah, no, I mean he's characterized as that, as the boogeyman.
Be able to share what I have to say and not just be like,
I want to say something.
Hey, they have the female Nit Fuentes on here.
Something about Adolf Hitler.
But I wanted to just finish my point here. Is
no
that
ropers?
If I can just finish my point.
Okay, finish your point, and then I have two things I want to say. And I'm sorry no one can see me, but I'm the woman behind the...
She's dressed as a dominatrix there. I love your dominatrix outfit.
Pay no attention to the woman behind the curtain.
Right. There are two things I want to bring up.
Wait, hold on.
Just to remind me, but...
I'll remind you. So what I wanted to also say about the doctrine that has been stated in a number of papers and public announcements is that Russia has... The view of the EU is that Russia has the greatest natural resources on the planet. Of
course.
And Europe, they
don't even know about you.
Right. And many people in the EU and much of the leadership feel that the only way they can survive is if they can wear Russia out by these long-term wars, Ukraine, example, because, they had a peace proposal on the table within a few months. Boris Johnson flew over from the UK, and he was told by Tony Blair, do not sign that peace, do not take it.
And Biden.
Well, they're all in the club.
They're all in the club, without question. And they see that they can carve up Russia into 5 different areas.
Yeah.
And utilize all their resources and destroy that culture. And so they're willing to do anything to keep this warmongering going. When Ukraine, they've put the entirety of their young men population into the meat grinder, killed well over 1 million of their young men. 10,000 people are leaving a month now to get out of this meat grinder. It's just absolutely
and it's not
traumatic.
The first time this happened.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the Holodomor. Over 10 million Christians were annihilated, and no one talks about it. In fact, they use a lot of those images and pass it off as Holocaust propaganda. Oh, you don't want to get started.
But so back to
I make a lot of friends.
You're basically revealing the untold history of the 20th and
the Ukraine has been victims multiple times by the same club, so to call.
Right, and Ukraine is the epicenter of their corruption for money laundering, the biological labs. They're human and
Most
sex
people
trafficking.
don't know about
Right.
what's in those
Right.
labs. It's,
So, India, you were saying,
Yeah. Number one, we were talking about Adolf Hitler, and I know in his younger years, he was an artist. He had a guru out of India. He was interested in spirituality.
yes.
He also had some genetic problem. His genitalia was not formed correctly, so it was very, very tiny. And
Did you see a picture of this?
I
That's
can't.
what I mean. How do we know this?
So we don't have proof, but this is something that I have heard about multiple times over the years.
I heard he had one test.
And I'm not saying this to be sensational. What I'm saying it for is, how is this going to affect this man? How did he grow up?
My
He
goodness.
didn't grow,
Oh, I see.
and he didn't
Yeah.
grow like a normal man. So there might have been a real opportunistic situation surrounding him with his generals, with his followers.
His generals and his genitals.
So
The two G's.
his generals were his genitals.
So the source that we have of this information were in journals, logs, and written communication
Yeah.
from his generals.
Yeah.
From his commanding officers. And that's where this information comes from. Now, from a dominatrix point of view, there is an entire category of kink that is called small penis humiliation. And numerous clients would come specifically for that type of humiliation, that type of session. It helped them deal with the reality. I mean, if you think about it, some of these men are so small, it's less than 2 inches. Sometimes it inverts, where it actually retracts into the foreskin, and so it's barely visible. Can you imagine what these men go through in life as far as their relationships are concerned? Because think about it, back in the day before dating culture, there would be courtship, there would be marriage, and then people would be locked into relationships they wouldn't know otherwise, right? Whatever.
That was the Vedic system as well.
Right. And so, people just dealt with what they had. It wasn't vast, there weren't columns and articles that these women would read every day on penis size and all sorts of stuff, right? And then now in this culture, everybody's so hyper focused on sex because their spiritual life is lacking, right? So of course, sexual energy.
And the powers that be have taken advantage of that with the entire porn industry.
Absolutely.
And why is it accepted socially to make fun of a man's genital, whereas completely the opposite when it comes to women?
Well, women are judged for the size of their breasts and other body parts as well. So it's not just solely for men. But I mean, think about how damaging it is to the male ego and identity in this day and age because people put way too much emphasis on the male phallus.
Mm-hmm.
Way too much emphasis. And simultaneously, these poor men are not raised to know anything about their sexual energy or their sexual responsibility. Think about it. Early in the Bhagavad Gita, what did Krishna say to Arjuna? That the detriment of a culture, the destruction of a culture, starts with what?
Unwanted progeny. Yeah.
And if
Varna Sankara is
if
the
we
fact
really
that-
get into it, and for me, like this is the ultimate goal of the Mars rising, is if we can get back to a culture where our boys are raised not only with their sexual education, but knowing that they are 100% responsible for every single conception on this planet. They are responsible for their seed. They know how to utilize their seed. They know how to use their sexual energy with spiritual ethics, in ancient spiritual techniques, which is what I teach my clients through the Mars contract when they're committed to it, because of course it takes commitment. Think about how that would change the world. We would never have to worry about abortion anymore. We would have no more unwanted progeny, and men would have such an incredible level of personal responsibility, accountability, purpose.
Total game changer.
Total game changer. We would go back to our original order. Men would feel I mean, just think about what that would
They
do
would
to
regain their self-esteem.
Absolutely.
And they would have
They would have their full potency, and they would really take responsibility for their masculinity.
I'm just going to read a brief quote from our spiritual teacher, Srila Prabhupada. This is from a John Masmi lecture. So Vasudeva somehow or another saved her because it is the duty of the husband to give all protection.
Yes.
The husband gives the wife all protection,
Yes.
all sustenance, and the wife serves the husband throughout the life so that the husband may feel encouraged and comfortable. This is the relationship between husband and wife. So it's a very fundamental principle.
It's fundamental.
And the men have to be raised with that type of culture. It's not that the women can't do, obviously women are qualified to do just about anything, but in the husband and wife relationship, yeah, but you are not men, and men are not women. And this is the relationship of the symbiotic relationship of the man. The husband is meant to give protection,
Yes, and
sustenance, and also spiritual guidance.
Where does birthing person come in all this?
oh, good Lord.
Or person who menstruates. That's another.
So I want to speak to that as a person, as a menstruating person, as a birth giver.
And then I want to ask my second question, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No.
So
You guys took it way out.
this goes back to
sure, I
my
did.
programming as a feminist. So if I had heard myself say this in my 20s, I would have just been absolutely insulted. So I didn't have the understanding at the time. Being in a female body has been insane. I feel like I go on a hormonal roller coaster every single month. And one of the reasons why I do the work that I do isn't because I have penis envy, although that might play a role in some aspect. It's because I know firsthand how absolutely hard, horrible, and borderline horrific it is being in a female body without masculine provision, protection, alignment, containment, and etc. It has made my life so incredibly hard, unnecessarily.
It's incredible to hear you say that from someone who's obviously an empowered woman.
Oh, right?
But to say that kind of goes against the zeitgeist of you could say a insidiously infiltrated cultural Marxist postmodern society.
Right, but it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Women deserve containment.
Yes.
We deserve protection.
Exactly.
When I think about how soft and sweet and nurturing and spiritually based my life could have been, even in my worst, darkest hours, I had this unspoken spiritual connection. I just had no clue what to do with it. I had no spiritual education growing up except for this one private Christian school that my parents put me in because we lived somewhere where there was so many racial issues. They were worried about riots in the school and whatnot. And that gave me my Bible background. But I mean, so.
Excuse me, in that quote that you were reading,
yes,
Buzz, it talks about a woman serving a man, but what was described the man is doing is also serving the woman.
Yeah.
So it's mutual service.
It's mutual service. Yeah. But there's an understanding
each other what they need. If you look at Radha Krishna, they're the pinnacle of reality, two personalities that are part of the Godhead or make up the Godhead, right? And this is just, we're made in the image of God.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
thank you for pointing all that out.
It's divine symbiosis.
Yeah.
Right. And so what the powers that be, or those who want to control, they want to emasculate society so there's no protection, and then come in and basically rape society for their own purposes. And they're envious of God. So that's why they're doing it.
And look what happens when women don't have masculine containment or protection. They become masculinized. Mm-hmm. When we become masculinized, everything is a threat, whether we're conscious of it or not. And this creates that pathological altruism where women especially are so easy to control, because women by nature, they want to feed everybody. They want to take care of everybody, right? That's not going to go away even if we're fully masculinized. But the distortion creates, this breeding ground for cultural Marxism, socialism, communism, which in theory are brilliant, right? If we were insects, but we're humans. So it's a theory.
We were
how
what?
Insect.
Bugs.
Oh, insects.
N-S-E.
I thought you said insects.
Insects.
Insects. Okay.
Yeah, if we were ants or bees,
Yeah.
it would work perfectly. But we're humans.
I love that.
Maybe that's
I love that
what-
analogy. Hey,
Buzzword.
it's great for the beehive. It's great for the ant colony. For humans, sorry, not working.
It's
Never
a
has.
theory,
Yeah.
and it won't.
But it's interesting in Vedic culture, you had for the people that were more just kind of simple workers, many of their needs were taken care of. So there was, in a sense, socialism, communism for the worker class, but for the Vaishyas, the more productive class, agricultural class, business person class, they had free market capital.
Right.
So, I mean, you had in the perfect Vedic society, 5,000 years ago and before, you had kind of a perfect blending of these different distinctions or divisions of society.
And weren't they all taken care of?
They were all
by
taken care of,
Kshatriyas?
by the churches. It came down, we had another
Right.
guest on,
Tribal
Vanina.
law, clan law.
Right, and the administrators and those who guided the administrators, the priestly class, the brahmanas, guided them on these higher religious, God-oriented principles of dharma, of what is our natural duty, and how to, through our natural proclivities, eventually attain the states of love of God. Gradual evolution, but everybody in society was taken care of according to their needs, but directed by the protective class, the Kshatriyas.
I have a question, but I'll let Rukmini do hers first.
Okay. Jerica.
Take it away, India.
No, now it's like almost, I shouldn't bring this up, but I had a question regarding parasite, what's the word?
Off-world parasite
Off-world
influence.
parasite infiltration.
Parasitical infiltration.
Parasitical infiltration. You know what I'm saying.
I do.
Okay. So now you mentioned that started to manifest with the Bolsheviks and the
Modern day history.
modern day history when Russia was taken over by the Bolsheviks and they were brutally murdered.
And
The whole
burned.
family. The dynasty was
Yeah.
tortured and murdered
And
there.
Christians were annihilated.
And the Christians were annihilated.
And the intellectual class as well.
Yeah.
So now I know that talking about reptilians, is that considered parasitical infiltration?
Again, I'm going to use that German word I love so much, Yein.
Yin.
And the reason is because from what I understand from the Galactic Federation is that not all reptilians are part of this, whatever you want to call it, the Galactic Cabal. Not all reptilians are parasitical. They're not all evil. They're not all man-eaters, because there's so many different levels of species within that genus that came to this planet. It gave us the Kundalini information. It gave us the activation of our Kundalini in our spines. Like, we have reptilian ancestry in our DNA.
So certain species are lower level consciousness than
It's those who worship
That's speciesism.
that
We should
Yeah.
judge
that
every
ancient,
individual on their own merit.
animalistic, like there's faction there. From what I understand, and of course I have no evidence, but from what I understand, there are
But you wait. You have studied this.
I have, and
And you have had certain experiences. When you say evidence, I mean, there's the practical experience and the understanding that comes through researching different books of wisdom throughout the ages.
Let me ask you this.
coupled with being a total weirdo who I've had a lot of metaphysical experiences.
That's going to be my question.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a shapeshifter?
Numerous. Oh, yes. Oh, I've seen some stuff. And I've had a lot of, I use the word channeling only because it's a word that people understand. But the truth is, I don't know how to channel, but I receive messages and downloads. And I have since my probably childhood, really. And there's just memories that I was born with. There's just like weirdo stuff that I never really, could talk about growing up. But
Not weirdo stuff. Weirdo to the outside
To the
world, that
mainstream.
the
So
uninformed.
you have the moon in Scorpio, and that's the natural.
my rising in Pisces.
So that's the 9th house in your chart from the rising sign, but it's the natural 8th house.
It's
That's
the
what you
natural
know.
eighth house.
Okay.
Well, my Venus is in the 8th. Yeah.
It's in the 8th from your moon,
From my rising.
from your rising.
My Venus.
Oh, it's in Libra?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have a weird chart. I'm grateful for it now because I'm realizing like, oh, it's actually a very heavily spiritual chart. But yeah, there's just things that it's hard to talk about these things because we cannot provide substantial evidence. It's like talking about the trafficking rings and satanic ritual abuse. We don't have, how can we possibly have evidence? Like,
But empiricism is overrated.
Well, there is the empirical evidence of countless survivors of ritual sexual abuse.
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
And I've
We have
spoken to many.
seriously.
We have to. We have to. And, but it's one of those things people keep asking for evidence. And we're like, we're trying to tell you our stories. We can give you information that no one else can give you.
Yeah, just like in bygone ages, information was passed down through oral tradition.
Exactly.
There is an entire oral tradition of the testimonies and experiences of victims of ritual, satanic, and sexual abuse.
Yes.
So,
May I? I know I'm talking a lot, the invisible woman here.
the invisible bionic woman.
Yes. I would like to ask about your Mars rising.
Excellent. I would love to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's actually the only thing I thought we were going to talk about.
Well, no, this all kind of
It all ties in. It gives the whole, it frames the context of who you are by what you've been through, the realizations, which has brought you to this point and this platform of which you are profoundly qualified to do. Because I really feel that deep compassion that is like the overriding principle here, of this nurturing mother energy to want to nurture young men to become young boys to become men.
Absolutely. To me, this is my spiritual path. This is what I'm on the planet to do. So thank you for that. And it's tricky for me because my credentials are very different. I don't have academic credentials because, let's be real, the programs that would be required in order to provide me with the credentials that I've received in my life, they don't exist yet. And really, in the world of academia, when they're talking about these things that we talked about, they're getting their data from the sex industry. They're getting their data from dominatrixes. And for me, with my work, that's what I was doing, is collecting data upon data upon data. And it just became this fascinating research project for me. But yeah, let's talk about the Mars rising. So the Mars rising came from my work with men, well over a decade of information, because what I kept seeing over and over again were certain patterns. And one of the significant patterns I saw were mother wounds. And this hit home. This was very personal to me on so many levels because I have a mother wound, significant mother wound, in a female body.
And India, your mom died when you were 13, and you just felt that emptiness there.
Yeah,
big
hole.
Big hole.
It'll never fill. I'm good with it now, but it will never fill up. It will once I'm spiritually, growing, and I'm always spiritually growing. But when I come to a certain point of maturity, I think that hole won't be significant to me.
Do you put marks on the wall when you attain a certain height of spiritual
That's
growth?
a good idea. That's a really
Measure that.
crazy idea, Gargs. Thank you. But the children, you're talking about working with children that are what ages?
I actually don't really work with children. I want to work with mothers. I want to work in prevention.
Okay.
Ah,
Good. I'm
great.
really yes, that.
So yeah,
So, I've worked with children most of my life, and I think that's going to be future projects, because I would love, my long-term goals. I have probably 30 lifetimes in vibrational escrow of things I want to do and offer. So I'm just going to see how much I can get done in this lifetime. But my legacy is that ultimate goal of restoring the social, spiritual contract of masculinity where there's no longer unwanted progeny on this planet. So to me, that's the ultimate goal, is to bring our sexual nature back to its spiritual integrity. I think it would solve all the problems in the world.
it's certainly a foundational, just like you mentioned, Krishna, Arjuna, speaking about, if I fight this war, there will be unwanted progeny. and unwanted progeny is the cause of all the ills of mankind.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because number one, the unwanted progeny, just like we've had a new puppy for a couple months now. And I've been going back and forth. This is too much work. This is that. Go outside. Leave me alone. I got stuff to do. And then it gets even more clingy, more clingy. And even a puppy can feel that back and forth of, I don't want you here. No, I do want you here when you're behaving. So when the unwanted progeny and the parent and the dad doesn't show up and the mom is raising 5 kids, and she can't handle it, and it's just, way too much. These children become very, very damaged. Damaged good.
Very much so. I have some statistics that I brought here that are just really, really heartbreaking. I don't even know where to begin because it's like we have... Well, let's start with the family structure, fatherlessness, and the outcomes. Children in single-parent households have increased from 9% in the 1960s to over 25% today.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you define the single-parent household?
That's a really good question. Because, in my situation, I'm a single mom, but I share custody with my children's father. But we have an absolutely ridiculous, there's no cooperation, communication, or anything. He doesn't even treat me like a human being.
Very unfortunate.
It is, especially coming from a Vaishnava.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really wish someone would check him and start preaching to him. Typically, the single-parent household is defined by the Census Bureau. And it's often based on need, and they get the data from those parents who are filing for financial need. They're filing for food stamps, etc. Yes, this could include some single fathers, but the information that we have is because men do not have the same kind of hormonal cycle that women have, because men are wired to step up to challenges and stress. Women's nervous systems handle stress very differently, and we go on a monthly roller coaster ride of instability with our hormones. Because of this, children in single-parent homes with a father usually do much better than just with a woman. And I know, again, my 20-year-old feminist would just be,
Is this what you're talking about when you use the word containment?
So let's talk about containment, because containment was a huge part of my work as a dominatrix. What is containment? There was a study done, and I cannot for the life of me remember who did the study, but what they did was they put all sorts of sensory devices on a property, and they measured what area around the buildings, the structures, the home, etc., that was explored on this property by all of the residents. So this would be the family, the kids, and the pets. And what they found is every member of that family, including the pets, stayed very close to the home and the structures. Then what they did is they put a perimeter, a fence around this same property, and they did the same test. And what they discovered after a month was every square yard of this property was explored by the members of this family and the pets. And so what happens is when you have a container, you automatically create a sense of safety, which means when you have a container, the people inside of that container can feel safe enough to have more freedom, more choice, more exploration. And so this is exactly what's required in a dominatrix session, is you have to have an impenetrable, almost watertight container of safety, professionalism, standards of care, expectations, etc. That way, 1, you establish trust. 2, from trust comes safety and vulnerability. And with vulnerability, we have this beautiful nervous system state of submission, surrender. Also, spiritual energy, right? Necessary in all spiritual components. We have to surrender. We have to learn how to trust, right? Deep faith there.
Yeah, and
it's where the magic happens.
It's really, and from a spiritual perspective, that's where the magic happens, in communion with God.
Yes.
Because blessed are the meek, or you must be like little children to enter the kingdom of God, which means that absolute trust and faith in my parents, in this case, Radha and Krishna, God and his consorts, and his intimate devotees and his representatives, such as Lord Jesus, Srila Prabhupada, many representatives, and have that. And the surrender is the mood of whatever, just like Lord Chaitanya stated in the last verse of the Shikshastakam, I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he will remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He will always be my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So that unconditional faith that whatever is happening, God is doing for my benefit. And I give myself to God and to please him according to the direction of my spiritual mentors. Then that divine mercy descends and we get ultimately higher states of ultimately love, prema. So that's, what you're seeing is it's kind of, you're seeing the microcosm of that in this world, the reflection of that in this world. You're seeing that in your work and how valuable it is.
So now take the concept of containment and what it offers in the form of submission, surrender, trust, vulnerability, devotion, and put that in a marriage, a relationship, right? Then we have undeniable polarity. And that's one thing about kink that really draws people into kink and BDSM, et cetera, is because there's undeniable polarity in a world that has annihilated polarity. And so what we want to do is we want to bring this structure back into the home, back into marriages, back into relationships because it works. But in order for it to work, the masculine pole needs to have that level of personal responsibility and integrity to create that safe container.
In being grounded as well.
Incredibly grounded, heart-centered.
So how do you work with mothers to help them raise
I love this.
the young children, young boys?
The very first thing that I'm launching next month is a very affordable course called The 12 Ways Mothers Unconsciously Emasculate Their Sons and How to Immediately Correct This. And so it's a 12-part video series with a workbook. It goes pretty deep, but still at the same time, surface level compared to the work that is coming next. And what I do is I guide the very first thing we have to do. 90% of the work is always awareness, because until people see what's really going on, they can't do anything about it. And so most of this, and I say it very clearly, it's unconscious. Like, this is not about guilt tripping or shaming moms. I have a deep love and respect for and compassion for all mothers, especially single mothers, because it's impossible. And, I've had to learn it the hard way. And so I want to gift moms first the awareness of why this doesn't work and what it's actually doing.
How does a mother emasculate their son?
Oh, there's so many ways. So in this course, I highlight 12. So I'll talk about one of the most pervasive is, I touched on it briefly, that the female nervous system is wired differently than the male nervous system. The male nervous system requires challenges and stress, especially eustress, which is positive stress, in order to grow, develop, strengthen, and to build confidence and courage. Very, very important. And what the average mother does to their sons, because we mothers, we love our children so much that we have a tendency to protect them from everything that they need. Now, this type
So overprotective.
This type of protection is very important for females. We should be overprotected in many respects so that we can value ourselves, that we can feel cherished, that we can feel precious, so that we don't put ourselves in horrible situations that modern day women find themselves in. But for men, for our boys, they need to be challenged. They need to push themselves past their fears, and they need to do hard things. Otherwise, they do not develop their internal identity. They do not develop their courage. They do not.
And then they become beta males.
Well, what happens is it creates a pattern where throughout their entire life, they're looking towards women. They're looking to women for everything, for financial support, for emotional labor, for decision-making, there's no leadership. And what I'm teaching through this course, more than anything, is helping mothers provide their sons with everything they need to become leaders in their own life.
Wow, this is brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah, really great stuff. I want to know, because it's not in a vacuum. The mom and the son are not living in a vacuum. Usually dad is around.
Yeah.
So how do you incorporate the father into this? Because he's going to feel left out, or maybe, I don't know. I'm just wondering, because there's more people involved other than the mom.
So one of
And
the
the
things,
son.
I love this question. Thank you for this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I talk about first and foremost with mothers is it is not their responsibility to be the sole mentor in their sons' lives. In fact, I recommend as quickly as possible that they curate and discern a group of men and mentors that they bring into their sons' lives, and that they are as discerning as possible. So for my sons, we come from a Kshatriya background. We come from a military family. My father was in charge of Special Operations Command. It's very, very much part of our lineage. And so my duty as the mother of my children is they've had tactical training since age 9. Actually earlier than that, because I started their gun training when they were about 5, not shooting, not active shooting, but just disassembling, disarming. I'm a big
Proponent.
thank you, proponent of true gun safety. And true gun safety has nothing to do with shooting guns. It's all about making them inoperable. And so my children now have exceptional tactical training. They train at the local range. We've been members for many years on a weekly basis. They're part of a group where they're being trained by former law enforcement and military on everything. Like my kids can disassemble an AR-15 down to its very bones and put it back together and clean it and everything like in minutes. And they're so safe. I trust my children with firearms more than I trust most adults who I know who are trained. And so
it's a culture. It's been because you grew up in that culture and you see the value of it. You've raised them in this culture, so it's second nature to them.
Correct, because I've taught them since they were little that men are intrinsically valuable to a culture. Without strong, capable men who know how to lead with integrity, we're sitting ducks, and they know this. And so my children have never questioned their value.
How old were your boys?
12 and 14.
Wow.
And they're exceptional. I absolutely adore them. So one of the things that mothers do, to answer your question from before, is they talk down on men. Their sons are constantly overhearing them demean men. And so if we watch any kind of sitcom, any kind of show, what do we see? Do we see any type of
Homer Simpson?
Across the board.
Yeah.
It is
and it's also by design.
It's by design. It's a culture of emasculation. It's become our humor. It's
Because
become how
when the men are demasculated, you can take over the society much more easily.
Exactly.
All the men are like farcical characters now.
They are. The women are the backbone, right? And I'm not saying that women aren't. It's just that, so there's so many different things that mothers do with the utmost best intentions in mind that are annihilating their son's confidence, identity.
So let's take another 12 of the unfortunate 12.
Mothers do way too much for their sons. Way, way, way too much. They basically program, groom, and condition their sons to rely on women for everything.
Wow.
And this is huge.
This is like, wow, because having this awareness would be invaluable.
Yeah.
But because that awareness isn't there, people tend to rely on the cultural mores of the present time, which are skewed, to say the least. So, this work is so valuable.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. How do you incorporate individuals' proclivities and tendencies that may go beyond like the traditional roles of men and women?
Easily, because I've been a part of that world my entire life. I've had close trans friends for over 25 years. This isn't new to me. I've been steeped in that subculture. I was openly bi by the time I was 15, so that's easy. And it doesn't really matter because polarity is going to be in every single dynamic. I mean, we have it in BDSM. We're going to have it in every couple dynamic. So when if I'm speaking to somebody who does not want to hear about masculine and feminine, then I just shift the narrative and I give them something that they can digest. And I describe masculine energy as the so we are a electromagnetic circuitry, right? Within our bodies, within the world, etc. And within this energetic circuitry, which is a part of everything, we have the masculine component, which is the electro outputting vector-like energy. And we have the magnetic energy, which is the receptive yin quality of the feminine energy. And so if they don't want to participate in the words I'm using, then we'll just switch up the words. It doesn't matter. I'm not attached. I just want people to understand. I want to empower people to know what to do. Because let's talk about this whole thing with boys. Okay, so if a mother is doing too much for her son, chances are she's burnt out. She's exhausted. Her self-care is in the toilet. She is not embodying her feminine energy. She's not feeling that goddess energy. She's not radiant. Her hair's probably falling out. You know, she probably has tons of
that happened to my mother. My mother had alopecia in her 30s, and all her hair fell out due to the nervous condition because she was
anxious, yeah.
Super anxious.
It was also a sign that you were going to become a Hare Krishna.
She saw that in advance and her hair fell.
So it's not just prevention for the boys, it's also helping mothers set up something sustainable for themselves, because it is absolutely, it's so hard being a single mom. And what I learned with my children is the more I moved into my radiant feminine energy, the more they stepped up, the more confident they became. I don't do the dishes at my house when my children are home. I don't have to do much at my house when my children are home. They've been doing their own laundry since they were 6 and 8. They are so competent. They do all the lawn care work. They know how to change the oil in my car. They know how to change the brake pads. I teach them everything I know. The only equipment they do not use without supervision in my home is my chainsaw. And I think that that's just like goes without saying. Everything else, they handle it. They handle it competently. And my children are, they're confident.
That
sometimes a little overconfident.
Yes.
So how would
that can be tempered in due course.
Well, life is very humbling.
Yeah.
It's now called Mars Rising, or you changed it?
So here's the thing. The Mars contract is still going to be active. ACK has been under litigation because of my boy's dad, who, in conjunction with my mother, they persecuted me because of my background as a dominatrix. And they managed through the court system to pull the Mars contract into that same work and label it as sex work, because I work with men who have sexual trauma, and I also teach them ancient spiritual practices in conjunction with sexuality. And because the court system,
like Kundalini.
Yeah, I've been a Taoist Yes, and I've been a Taoist practitioner for 25 years now. So I teach ejaculation control. I teach semen retention. How to become a multi-orgasmic man, all the stuff from like Montauk Chia. And
I think I read that book, The Multi-Orgasmic Man.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
No, I made it up. That's a real book.
That's a bit by David Dida, right?
Oh, no, that's the superior man.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't get into the.
Oh yeah, then there's Montauk Chia.
Yeah. And so.
But I was going to ask a question, and I was just making sure I had the right name.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm just letting you know that I am. Yeah, it's been exhausting and incredibly expensive, but I try to remind myself of this level of persecution and attack and opposition. I'm obviously doing God's work, so whatever. We're going to keep going.
Yeah, on that one. All right.
It strengthens you too. But how do you teach respect of women to boys?
Oh, it's so fun and it's so easy. Step one is getting into our feminine energy. What does feminine energy feel like to the masculine? What does it feel like as a man who is genuinely received by a woman? She admires you, she sees you, she adores you, she looks up to you. What does that feel like?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
It's heavenly.
It's heavenly, right?
Yes.
It feels nurturing. It feels supportive. It feels confidence, bolstering.
Right? Doesn't it make you want to step up and be the best mother?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I teach mothers how to embody this and raise their
And see,
this energy.
I mean, the axiom behind every great man is a great woman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the that's part of the equation.
It is.
For a man to be a great man, there's generally, unless there's those rare exceptions of renunciates, a great woman behind them in their corner, encouraging them, like you say, and, supporting them emotionally and physically in so many different ways.
So many different ways.
And, that's a successful relationship.
May I ask a question? Because I think that it may cross people's minds who are listening to this. I really think what you're doing is extremely valuable, and I'm hearing everything about it now. But you might come across people who are thinking, well, if she's so good at this, why is she in litigation with her husband? Why don't you get along with him?
Yeah.
What happened?
I love that question. And I definitely...
She asked the tough question.
Oh, I love it. Well, I live in the hot seat. Might as well just address it.
Oh, no, it's because...
India, we got to get you, please come up, please.
She's on. Karen.
I like being invisible like Dave from X22.
X22, right?
You never see him.
So this is something that I don't present myself as somebody who has a perfect life, because who has a perfect life? Do you want to learn from somebody who had a perfect life, that everything just works for them, or do you want to learn from somebody who has the messiest, most challenging, difficult, crazy ass situation that they have navigated and learned from?
And everyone has to go through their own karma, right?
Of course. I teach what I have healed and am constantly building in my life. I open my courses by talking. I don't overshare or, emotionally dump, but I let people know I have a messy life. I have had active enemies in my life since I was born, starting with my mother. My demon teacher. She has taught me so much. My ex-husband has taught me more about myself than anybody else on this planet. We cannot make people behave any particular way, nor should we. Our sole purpose, our sole responsibility is with ourselves. And if we can rise above and become detached to what other people are doing and still live our best lives, going to bed at night knowing we did our best, and if our relationship with our children, regardless of how messy our circumstances are, is solid and just absolutely beautiful and it touches our souls, then we are doing our best.
Yeah, it reminds me of the 4 agreements.
Oh, yes.
The last is always do your best.
Always.
Never take anything personally.
Be impeccable with your word.
And be impeccable with, the integrity factor.
You only get 3 so far.
And what was the first? The first one is, let's see.
No, the first one's being impeccable with your word.
Yeah. Never take anything personally. And then what's the third one?
Don't assume. Don't make assumptions.
Never make assumptions. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Garks.
Yeah. And so I love that question because here's the thing about vulnerability. It's the thing that bonds us and connects us as human beings. And in order to be vulnerable, we have to be human. We have to be messy. If I show this front that everything's perfect, look at my life. Look at how great my relationship is. It's my kids. Look at it.
That's what Facebook. That's what Facebook did.
Facebook is for, right? These women aren't going to trust me. They're not going to connect with me. They're not going to be like, oh, she knows how to help me because her situation is even messier than mine. Like when we go looking for mentors, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for someone who has overcome what we're dealing with. We want someone to help navigate us through the swamp. We don't want somebody who's elevating and like lofty and has never had to swim with the alligators. We want somebody who has been in the thick of it and they can help you Like, no, we're not here to control other people. We're here to control ourselves. We're here to learn detachment with certain things.
This is a good town to swim with the alligators, by the way.
Yeah, because I think
And
that
by the way,
I can see why,
Microphone boom stands are Gator framework.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
you know,
Represent.
and I don't think even if you did come across as like, life's great, you know, and you came across like that, like you wanted to be Miss Perfection. I know how to raise my boys. Just listen to me. I'm telling you, the moms, you know, they would not believe you.
No, of course
They wouldn't
not.
believe anybody.
And how have you been persecuted online?
Oh, goodness. Well, not so much anymore. It's gotten quite quiet
Oh,
lately.
Good.
But for a couple years there, I was regularly called it's so funny. I'm just like, wow, a Nazi, a racist? Make that make sense. A homophobe, a transphobe, all because I don't support gender affirming care. I actually support people feeling safe and comfortable in their bodies, in their God-given bodies.
That is the natural order of things.
It is. A white supremacist. Like, I've been called all these things. They don't affect me because I know who I am. You know, I raised foster kids. I have black grandbabies. You know, like, they call me these things and I'm like, I've been openly bisexual since I was 15. Really? I'm a homophobe? Okay. The persecution is also my mother and my boy's dad. They incredible amounts of money have gone into a smear campaign against me. And I'm at a point now where I just don't care anymore. I really don't. I'm here to do God's work. And anybody who gets in that way is doing nothing but polishing me.
There you go. That is a brilliant attitude. That is an attitude for fulfillment, happiness, peace of mind.
Nothing but polishing me. I like that.
And empowerment. Yeah. So, you know, you're a really phenomenal example of that. So
I do my best. You know, some days look different than others.
No. We're all in the same boat.
I'm still a very messy human.
We're all in the same.
Can we talk about sperm count, please?
Oh, let's do it. What's
that?
So I wanted to reference one of the best books written on this topic. I highly recommend everybody get this book. It is by Dr. Shanna Swan. The book is called Countdown. It's an entire book of data and research and studies. We know that sperm counts have declined by more than 50% in my lifetime alone. What?
Intentional.
And we're talking about across the board, across all species, globally, intentionally. And this is from the phthalates in the system. This is from our BPAs. This is from our pesticides. These are from endocrine disrupting chemicals that people are actively purchasing, putting on their bodies, letting it go into our sewage systems, letting it go into our waterways, and then out into the ecosystem. And the book is fascinating. For a book to be all about data and me call it fascinating, you know that it's some good stuff. They first started researching frogs.
Right.
And also
After
saying rats.
Gay.
They're making the damn frogs gay.
And it's so funny because people want to call that a conspiracy theory. No, it's science.
No, it's science. It's, follow the data.
Yeah.
The data, and it's the atrazine in the water, correct?
It is all sorts of things.
Yeah.
How about
It's
since
fact-
the vaccinations?
That's a whole nother.
I've heard that the sperm count's gone down even more since.
fertility.
Yeah, fertility and sterility has those were shown in the Pfizer clinical trials too, from those who were involved in the clinical trials and took the holy grail of jabs. They experienced a tremendous amount of debilitation and destruction in fertility and for women and fertility in men.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad.
Great damage. It's all there in the clinical data.
It's really sad. And one thing I want to mention that there's some things that we don't expect. There's some natural things that we don't expect. My kids and we came across some information over a year ago where there was a study that exposed that high levels of using even organic, all-natural lavender essential oil and tea tree essential oil on the body, it is an estrogenic. And so we need to be very mindful because there's natural things that are going to destabilize a man's hormone system, especially a developing
Interesting.
system. And so my kids and I have been hypervigilant. They're so fun and brilliant. Like, one of the great things about raising kids this way is I don't have to worry about them abusing drugs or alcohol or damaging their body, because they are so hyper aware of health. They know things that I just learned, since my 30s. And they get to grow up with this awareness. So another reason why we want to raise strong men is they are so protective of themselves and others, and they call me out.
And
Right.
if you give a hand, if this becomes part of the culture,
Yeah.
then you have a culture of righteous protectors.
Oh, amen.
And what this is what is needed.
Yeah.
This culture.
Imagine a world. I mean, we'll have
Balanced,
Balance.
righteous protectors.
We're going to have high trust societies again.
Oh, one case in point is Pete Hegseth.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to do the job of protecting our country, and he is being absolutely,
Smear
attacked
campaign.
attacked with smear campaigns. And I was thinking of him when you had mentioned that sort of masculine energy. I know he's not perfect.
South
and all
Park
of that,
just
but
had an
Not perfect,
episode.
but he's sincere.
Yeah, South
Yeah.
Park episode. They're just roasting him to the max. Whatever the
I just
mainstream
would rather have
narrative,
fentanyl here.
yeah,
I guess so.
whatever the mainstream narrative is echoed, the echo chamber of the mainstream media. It's the talking points, and it's ubiquitous over all platforms. Yeah, would we rather have our 250,000 kids a year dying, or what is? It's something like that, about 200,000 dying of fentanyl overdose. No, so we're gonna.
So tragic.
But if you can compromise the military and compromise the masculine energy, then the country can be infiltrated and overtaken. And that.
I want to change that.
Yeah. So, I think this is
Kind
a
of
good
time.
good time to wrap up here. If you were to give one final message to mothers and to men, what would that be?
Oh,
And of course, you've said so much.
don't
So
raise it.
yeah,
Well, when do you see this? Can I clarify a little
course.
bit more, whittle it down? When do you think that this will be available?
So I am already, signing people up to my newsletter list so that they'll be the first to know.
And what is the newsletter, and how can people contact you?
I gave you guys a link.
But tell our viewing audience.
Well, I don't have a website yet.
Okay.
I just spent over $100,000 in the past 2 years in litigation.
Okay.
So I'm behind.
But when eventually you're going to have a website,
Yeah, no, it's coming. I actually just reconnected with my web guy, and I was like, okay.
and is that the Mars?
So the Mars contract is active,
Right.
And if people go on there, they can go ahead and sign up to that particular news.
And the other one is called the Mars
Right.
Mars Rising.
And so that's a link I shared with you guys. So maybe, I don't know if there's a way that we can just kind of put it in the comments.
Yeah.
But sooner than later, I'm actually recording the course videos in the next couple weeks. I should be done by the end of the month. And then all I have to do is finish the workbook and just get it all together. So the goal is to launch in January. And my course,
soon.
The course it's pretty thorough. It's over 14 videos with a workbook, an interactive, workbook for each of the topics. And it's only $27.
Wow.
I wanted to make it affordable for every budget because this is needed. And I want to create a community that supports mothers. I just want to make a difference, really. I want all the things that I see presenting from my clients that come to see me. I want to make sure that that isn't the norm moving forward. I really want to give our boys a fighting chance. They deserve it, and the world.
So needed. Garg, some final words?
Well, I have experience doing a lot of music journalism, and there was I don't want to put anyone down or anything, but there was a festival called Changeville that was here.
Yes.
And so I had this, I think it was Tatiksha's son. He was doing some photography. And we went into one of these concerts, and I can't remember who the performer was. She was from Brooklyn, and she put white straight men down so much.
Oh, of course.
And he went out of there just saying, I feel terrible about myself. She makes me feel terrible about myself. He was saying this just isn't right,
It's really sad because it's not our real history. White men have not solely been the oppressors. You know what I mean? And it's weird. It's like our culture's evolved into this weird paradigm where you can't talk about something like racism or slavery without, like, you're not allowed to talk about the benefits that came out of certain things. Like, you have to erase an entire section of history.
You can't be nuanced.
You can't. And it's so sad because it couldn't be further from the truth. Western civilization, white men abolished slavery in the Western world. They're the ones that did it, while it was still prolific in other parts of the world.
Yeah, I mean, many of the Muslim nations were the biggest slavers.
All throughout history, there's been slavery all over the world.
All over the world.
So yeah, I mean, it's you can
in the New World before Columbus got here. They had an entire system of slavery and even cannibalism. Like, hello, we need to be honest about history and stop with this new age historic revisionism. We have to stop it because, yeah. So what happens when a young man leaves a place like that? He feels so disenfranchised. Where's he going to go? He's going to go to like the Nick Fuentes crowd, right? Where instead of feeling embodied and confident and special and protective, he's going to go
and that
become radicalized.
And that crowd has massive reach.
He does
because of these things that we're talking about.
Gropers, and unfortunately, a lot like there's a fine line between a lot of these radicalized men and incels, and it is not a healthy world view. They are not exalting women.
Oh, how about Andrew Tate?
I don't care enough about him to discuss him, and he's really gone off the deep end lately, hasn't he? I can't tell if it's shock value or what, or is he just not getting enough attention. If I don't know someone personally, I don't have much of an opinion of them. I'm kind of just absorbing information.
What we do see is this, and really what the subject matter has been here is just to encapsulate, is this seemingly orchestrated attack on male sovereignty.
Yes.
And masculine energy.
Yep.
The protective, righteous, integrity-based aspect of the male.
Yes.
And it seems that it's a systematic attack worldwide, and we can see also that it's on the physical realm also, with the significant, almost massive reduction in sperm count by all the different, you could say, vectors of assault on humanity and on masculinity. Yeah. So what I see you doing is bringing awareness to this, being an example of yourself of raising strong boys into men.
And having the guts and the grit to speak out.
Yeah.
Which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But if you have that calling, was it Thomas Jefferson? Was he the one who said?
Right. He said, evil flourishes when good men fail to act.
Exactly.
Yeah. Something like that.
Exactly.
So, just want to celebrate you and your work. And
you were very eloquent today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a really fun conversation. You guys are
total black.
Great. I love the questions. I just love the vibe.
And I love
so much.
I love India/Rukmini, that you were so present here today with your questions, great questions. Yeah. And I just want to thank you for that.
I knew this would be a good show.
Thank you for that input. So let's close here, and we wish you massive empowerment and protection.
And a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Shri Vishnu, a Merry Christmas.
We'll post the contact info in the episode.
And if there's anything else you need from me, do not hesitate to ask.
Yeah, we'll have you back in the future. So it's going to be great. We're also launching sometime in the beginning of the year. So.
In January. So won't that be
for
you guys
a double feature?
So thank you, Eighth Element crowd. Thank you guys for joining us here, and we'll see you on the next episode. And
Please subscribe and like our podcast.
yeah, if you don't, we'll find you.
No, we'll be your best friend if you do.
You'll be your best friend anyway, but okay.
All right. Thanks again.
Sure. Thank you.
Living a simple life in a complicated world. It's like walking on a high wire while the crowd below you hurls all those things that are meant to shake you, meant to break you, make you fall. Living a simple life's not such a simple thing. Simple thing, not such a simple